It's another spooky video, and we are down at Aunt Judy's now with the filming setup. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about the lights the way that I got them. I'm going to play around with the lights a little bit, so the lighting in the next several videos might be a little different. Well, I have a bunch of like pre-film videos from before the move, so you may not notice the change right away, but like I'm going to be tinkering around with the lights, trying to get things figured out, but we're down here, we're making it happen, it's working out so far, knock on wood. Okay, so yeah, let's get into it. I had an idea for this look to like cover my face with like cellophane. But I don't know if I'm gonna do it now, just because I think it'd be a fun idea, but also I feel like it's gonna get flagged on social medias for like, you know, like I'm trying to kill myself or something, even though obviously I'm going to be a corpse. So I don't know. I have reservations. I feel like it's gonna get like taken down, so we'll see. We'll see what I end up doing. But yeah. Not to give too much away. Also, I do have in my whiteout contacts, so I am going to be moving them around quite a bit. Just warning for any of you who don't like to see people playing with their eyeball. I'm going to be playing with my eyeballs. Okay? I can't see. And I have to create a masterpiece. Okay. Alright. Without further ado, let's get into it. Ooh. Becky never considered herself a really anxious person. She didn't have a lot of issues with anxiety. She was pretty chill. Pretty even kill, you know? But she moved halfway across the country for her new job. It was super stressful. But even then, she felt like she handled it really well. But when she got to her new house and started kind of, you know, getting settled in and all that, she kept waking up in the middle of the night and she couldn't breathe. And she didn't know if it was like a panic attack or what was going on. Of course, at first she just wrote it off to the stress of the move. But when it kept happening, and she'd already moved and she was settling in fine, everything was going great. She was like, what is going on here? Like, this is not okay. So she had to look around, find a doctor that worked with the new health plan. And then, of course, you know, had to wait for the health plan to kick in, because so many of them, you have to be there at least 3 months before they'll even pay for anything. So in all that time, she kept waking up, dead of the night, not able to breathe. Some of her new coworkers suggested that maybe she, you know, had like sleep apnea or something, and she said, no, I don't have a history of that. No asthma, nothing. There was like no reason for her to be waking up in the middle of the night, not able to breathe. And she finally went to the doctors, and, you know, the doctors couldn't figure anything out either, so they just chalked it up to anxiety. Gave her some meds. And at first the meds seemed to be helping. She wasn't experiencing the shortness of breath like as often. But she was still having it. Well, when she went in and told them, hey, you know, still having the dreams, but they're less frequent now, so I think the medicine is helping. It's just not helping enough. So they gave her a little higher dosage. And the waking up without being able to breathe stopped. But unfortunately, then the dreams started. They were super intense. It felt like someone had put a bag over her face and was choking the life out of her. And they were vivid, like she could feel the bag, the crinkle of the bag. Well, of course, the doctors just chalked it up to, you know, some crazy dreams induced by something she ate maybe, or whatever. They didn't think anything of it. They were just like, it's probably fine. You know, just vivid imagination, plus drugs, plus eating something before you go to bed. It's like reacting weird with the drugs. You'll be fine. They didn't think too much of it. They kind of dismissed it. But she felt like there was definitely something going on. She didn't like that they were being so dismissive about this. Well, the seasons were starting to change. She needed to, you know, get some of her winter clothing and warmer blankets and stuff, and she had stored all of her extra stuff down in the basement. It was a huge basement, but only part of it was finished. And you could tell that whoever had owned the house previously thought they knew enough from watching HGTV that they could just do it themselves. Like, it was very strangely done. But it was cheap, and that's what really mattered to her. So she'd go down to the basement, went to get some of the lugs of her clothes and stuff up. And that's when she heard crinkling of a bag. And something about it was super jarring to her, but immediately her first thought was mice. So she's looking around the basement trying to find, you know, where there's some kind of bag that a mouse is getting into. Well, of course she doesn't find anything. And then she kept hearing it and kept hearing it, and she knew she had heard that before when it finally hit her. It was the crinkling of the bag from her nightmares. But she knew she was awake. She definitely did not like that she was hearing that sound when she's wide awake. Well, that night she had the dream again, but it was different. Like, she could hear a woman screaming, but it wasn't her that was screaming. She knew it, but she just couldn't explain what was going on. She went to the local library to see if maybe there was some kind of murder that had happened at her house. Something obviously had to have gone on here. She felt like there had to be some kind of a story with this house. And that's why she kept having these dreams. Like, there's just something going on. She couldn't find anything about a murder, but she did find that in the early 2000s there had been a case of a missing woman that was still open. It was a cold case, but the woman wasn't attached to her address, so she really thought she had something, but then back to square one. She couldn't stop feeling like whatever had happened definitely involved her house somehow. Like, she just knew it deep down somehow that that woman that she found out about at the library was the woman that she kept hearing in her dreams, and she felt like someone had killed her, and maybe it happened in her house. No proof of anything, no way to explain to the police how she knows anything. She really just didn't know what to do with that, but she just knew that she knew that she knew something had happened in her house. Well, that night she had the dream again, but it was almost like having an out-of-body experience. Like, she had the dream, but somehow she was floating above the dream. She couldn't see the face of whoever was killing the woman, but she could see that he was standing over her and he was wrapping her up in plastic and holding it as tight as he could while she struggled against it and then went limp. And she couldn't get a good look at the face, but she was the right age, the right build for the missing woman. She felt like this was some sort of confirmation, like the house had given her this. She had to run with it. Woke up suddenly, and she could hear something outside of her bedroom door. Like a low moaning. But it was muffled. She opened the door, and there was a woman with plastic wrapped around her face, just standing there staring at her, dead-eyed. She knew it was the girl. She knew this had to be either she was still dreaming or it was a ghost. She didn't know what was going on, but she had to follow her. She just felt like she was trying to show her something. So that's what she did. She followed her all the way down to the basement. But once she got down to the basement, she turned the light on, and the apparition disappeared. But somehow she just knew that was proof that someone had killed this poor woman in her house and then buried her in the unfinished part of the basement. She just knew it. So the next day she called the cops and she says, you know, I don't know how I know this. I can't explain it. But I just feel like there's something going on in my basement. There's an unfinished part of it. It's just concrete flooring, and it looks like it was poured by someone, you know, that wasn't a trained contractor or anything. I think it was privately done. And I can't explain why, but I feel like the body of that missing woman from the early 2000s is in there. I feel like you need to check it out. Well, the cops weren't sure how she even knew about that. They already checked her out, knew that she had just moved into the area. They knew that she had nothing to do with that case. But it still looked very suspicious that she came forward and was saying all of that. Well, of course, you know, if there's a dead body possibly involved, the police have to look into it. So they told her to just hold on. They would check it out. They went in and, you know, got a contractor lined up to go in there and just check it out, see if there's anything to what she's saying. Well, finally, on this second day, they found a femur. Immediately, they got her out of there so they could work a little more carefully, a little more meticulous, and it'd probably take a while to get everything out. Well, they ended up finding the entire body, complete, with the plastic wrapped around her head. When they asked her to describe how she knew that, all she could say was she kept having this reoccurring dream of being choked by plastic. And she just didn't know how to explain it any better than that, but she was able to describe to them what she could see of the man that did it, and it kind of fit the description of the man that used to own that house, who was a youth pastor who went away to Mexico and was never heard from again. And that's it for this one. Careful when buying a home. There might be a body in the basement. Who knew? I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you in the next one. Like I said, I'm going to kind of mess around with the lighting, and we'll see what we can cook up. All right. Love you guys. Bye.